a few years or a few months back, I did some FL Studio tutorials on how to set the TD-3 in FL Studio. And now I had a question on how to configure TD-3 with Studio One. And it's actually it's simpler than FL Studio. So let me show you how to do that in Studio One. So let's jump to Studio One. And so the first thing that I have is I have here my TD-3 connected to channel 2. And if I go ahead and start playing something, you see that you can hear. Wait a second. Let me just stop this because because the way I have my setup here, you will hear it alongside with my mic. So what happens here is that if I hit play, nothing happens. As you can see, there's no information from FL Studio directly to TD-3. But if I hit play on my TD-3, you see that now I have some audio and I can change the preset. I can make it faster. I can make it slower. I can change the pitch. Okay, I can change some of the parameters. Okay, as you can see, this is just stuff that I'm messing around with the TD-3, with the knobs in the TD-3. But let's say that I want to now configure Studio One so that every time that I play in Studio One, instead of me going to hit play on the TD-3, Studio One automatically sends MIDI clock information to the TD-3. And that's easy to do. So we go here to options and we go to external devices. So we have to add one. And if we go here, we see that this is from Behringer, but we don't have any option here for TD-3. What we can do is go here to, we have new keyboard, new instrument, or new control surface. So a new keyboard is pretty much, it's self-explanatory. This is kind of a keyboard that you have keys that you can play with. This is kind of like a plug-and-play keyboard. Then we have new instrument, which is what we want. And then we have a surface controller. And the surface control or control surface, it's something that you have knobs, faders. It's kind of like a mixer, but with MIDI so that you can connect your mixer to a surface controller. I don't want to talk too much about it. So let's talk about this one here. And let's call this TD-3. TD-3R3, I think that's the name. No, TD-3. Let's do TD-3. Okay. And then we have these options here, which is receive from and send to. Since I have a Focusrite audio interface connected to the TD-3, what this connection is basically two connections. So I have the output of MIDI from my Focusrite USB interface going from the output, MIDI output, connected into the MIDI input of TD-3. And then I have the audio output of TD-3 going into my audio input of the Focusrite. So I hope that was clear. And what we can do is send MIDI information. So we have here send to, and we are going to send MIDI information through the Focusrite USB MIDI. And when I click that, we can send MIDI clock, use MIDI clock start, send MIDI time code. I think it's enough to select send MIDI clock. And that's pretty much it. And you click OK. And you click OK here. So what next? Next, we have to do something else here. And there's an option or a tool from Behringer that I don't like that much, but it's the only tool that we have. And it's called this Behringer Synth Tool version 2.0. If I do here, get started, it says it can't be used. Please close other DAW. This is the problem that I have sometimes with FL Studio. So I have to close FL Studio so that I can use this app. And as you can see now, we have the app working. And if we go here to General, we will see clock source. And I have to go here and select, I don't know why, it's showing me, okay, now we have internal MIDI D-in, MIDI USB, and trigger. What we want is MIDI D-in. Why? Because we selected I connected a cable from the MIDI output of the Focusrite into the MIDI input of TD-3. And that's why. If I had this over USB, I would use USB, but I prefer to use this MIDI D-in. So let's select this. We can now close this tool. We can also use the sequencer, and we can calibrate and stuff like that, and even update the firmware, which are already up to date. Let's see the sequencer here. I can place notes, store stuff, recall. So this is a cool tool in that sense. Doesn't work that well, but it is what it is. Now, let's see. If I now play something, and if I hit play on my keyboard, or on the TD-3, you now hear some noise. And if I start speeding up this, you see that now it's speeding up. So now, Studio One is controlling or sending clock information to the Focusrite, and the Focusrite is sending clock information to the to TD-3. So Studio One is now controlling TD-3, and I have to go here. Let's see, input. Let's do that, and we can record this. So let's record something, and as you can see, now we have data coming from TD-3, and this is synced to my time. So this is now controlled by TD-3, or by Studio One, sorry. So if I now play this, let's take this one here, and let maybe close that. So now I have two things playing at the same time. Okay, so now I just disabled TD-3. And now the audio is coming from TD-3, or Studio One, actually. This was a little bit confusing, but yeah, that's basically it, how you can configure Studio One to have to connect to TD-3. It's a little bit, what's the word that I'm looking for? It's might not be the best way, because now let's put this in a little bit faster. And you can see also here the MIDI control. So if I click here and if I hit play, you now start to see the MIDI clock messages. And as you can see, let me pause, and we can see that this is going out, Focusrite USB MIDI. So, and this is probably the position, not the position, but the MIDI messages that you can check here. If you want to go a little bit deeper, you can check the MIDI messages that Studio One is sending to TD-3 through your audio interface. And that's basically just that. You go to options, and you create a device, you set the clock so that Focusrite or Studio One sends the clock to your audio interface that is connected to the TD-3. That's the way I have it. So let me remove that. That's the way I have it, set it up, and I hope that also answers the question.